we're back.
Hello again. It's us again for episode 85 of the Horror Guys.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And as usual, we've got 4 movies and a short for you.
And we're going to talk about them and tell you about them, and you can decide whether you should see them or not.
And we'll probably spoil a few of them, so be careful.
You are
especially
warned.
the older ones.
Yeah, the older ones are especially fair game.
Yeah. So, are you signed up for a whole lot of October film fests? Halloween is coming.
Yeah, all of those packed theater film fests. No. No.
Have you seen anything about any kind of virtual film fest?
I haven't.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be a thing.
Wouldn't be the same.
Better than nothing.
I don't know. Yeah, but to not actually be there in the theater with everybody seeing them.
Yeah. Be like just watching a YouTube marathon.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, well. 2020. The true horror. Oh, well, anyway, this is episode 85, and we've got some movies for you. We're going to start out with 1944's Jungle Woman. Ooh. Is that like Tarzan and Jane?
No, just an ape woman. It's the same. It's Paula the Ape Woman again.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's another in that series.
Another. And we're going to have some fun with the Twins of Evil from 1971.
Hammer Time,
yeah. And then spend some time on a lonely country road with 2016's The Monster.
Nothing like a peaceful drive in the country.
Yeah. And then we'll try to avoid the immortal Nazi necromancer in Blood Creek from 2009. It's got Superman before he was famous. And who's the other guy?
Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, before he was famous. But who was the other guy?
He was kind of famous.
The guy who actually got top billing above those two. Yeah, you don't remember him either. Dominic Purcell.
Oh, Dominic Purcell.
He got top billing over Michael Fassbender and Henry Cavill, so you know this is before they were big.
Because he was a bigger name at that time, in 2009.
And I couldn't remember his name just now.
I blanked out on who you were talking about. I was trying to remember the dad of the family. He wasn't anybody.
No, this was the main star of the movie.
Yes, Dominic Purcell. Prison Break and many other things.
Yeah.
Dracula. Yeah.
Dracula?
He was a Dracula. Yeah.
Which one?
The vampire hunter guy, Dracula.
The vampire hunter guy.
The tax evader. I can't remember his name.
The tax evader.
He's on the run for not paying his taxes.
All I can think of is Randy Quaid.
Brown-skinned guy. He's half vampire. What's his name?
Wesley Snipes?
Wesley Snipes, yes.
He's a tax evader?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's on the run. Or I don't know if he still is, but yeah. He fled the country, and yeah, there was some issues with such a large unpaid tax bill that he was wanted and wasn't showing his face in the U.S. too much there for a while.
Huh.
And I don't know if he still is. Wesley Snipes, yes, it's one of his Blade movies. He's Dracula.
Dracula, okay.
Yeah, Dominic.
Yeah. I know I've seen all 3. There were only 3, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I've seen them. I didn't remember Dracula was in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're not going to talk about Dracula right now. We're going to talk about The Ape Woman, Jungle Woman, 1944.
Okay.
Directed by Reginald Laborg. Written by Henry Suker and Bernard Schubert. Stars Evelyn Ankers, J. Carrol Naish, Samuel S. Hines. 1 hour and 1 minute. That's a big old ape-filled 61 minutes for you. Did you like it?
It was okay.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it.
None of these 3 Ape Woman movies are really bad,
but they're
not really awesome either.
Adequate. They're adequate. Yeah.
If somehow or another Ape Woman appeals to you, it's worth taking a watch. But they're not great. They're not terrible. They're just they're there.
And the poster's misleading because she's dressed in a scantily, short, jungly dress. It looks like her breasts are about to hang out.
Tarzan and Jane kind of thing. Yeah.
And that's a little misleading because at no point in the movie she dressed like that.
No. This is the second one, right?
Yes.
She'd already been. Well, she was never in the jungle. She was a gorilla brought over from Africa who was turned into a woman in the first movie.
Right.
So it's not like she was ever a Tarzan type character.
No.
She was a legitimate monkey.
A transformed gorilla. Yeah.
Well, okay. So, did you like it? We've been through this.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so mediocre, I didn't remember if you liked it. Well, we see the shadowy silhouette of a man and woman fighting, and we see that the woman loses. We then get the headline, Dr. Fletcher takes the stand at coroner's inquest. Well, there's a trial, and Dr. Fletcher walks us through what happened in an extended flashback of 1943's movie, Captive Wild Woman. It's the first one where they found Sheila the ape and gave her some hormone injections to turn her into a real woman.
Totally realistic. They do that all the time now. Now they've got the bugs worked out. Since 1944, it's a common medical procedure.
Okay.
Bet you didn't know that. It's no longer science fiction.
All right.
It was in 1944.
So many of these things were just predicting the future.
Absolutely.
Well, Fletcher watches Fred Mason, in reused footage from the previous film, go into the lion cage and get attacked by lions. So in the first movie, there was this extended lion tamer footage where he goes in and battles the lions for like 15 minutes. And we were really bored by that scene, but it was probably exciting at the time for people who'd never seen a circus.
They reused some of that.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
We also see Paula, who had reverted to her ape form, come in and pull Mason out of the lion cage. We see the policeman shoot the ape and kill her. And that basically was all the first movie. Now, in new footage, we see that Fletcher then took the dead ape's body and found out that she wasn't really dead, so he nursed her back to life.
And she's back again.
Mason
looking better than ever.
Mason comes to see Sheila sometime later, and he tells Fletcher the whole story. We get more flashbacks as he explains how Paula could influence the animals and became his assistant. Lots of recap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Dr. Fletcher then purchases Dr. Walter's sanitarium, he's the scientist from the first movie, and begins studying his notes. At some point, the ape escapes, and Fletcher and his assistant Willie go looking for her. Willie finds a strange woman hiding in the bushes.
A jungle woman, perhaps?
Could be. I don't know where the clothes came from.
let's not overthink that. Yeah, suddenly, the naked gorilla escapes, but the woman is dressed.
So many of these old movies can be blown apart by clothing.
Mm-hmm.
Bring Dracula back to life by pulling the stake out. Where did the
and
clothes
his clothes come
from?
back too?
Yeah.
Not to mention that his clothes are invisible.
Dracula gets hit with sunlight and he melts. So do the clothes.
So do the clothes.
Yeah.
But they come back.
Well, Fletcher has no idea who the girl is, but he notices that she behaves peculiarly. He learns that she's exceptionally strong. Willie has a crush on her, and the nurses tell him to stay away from Paula. Willie's a bit of a creep. They start calling her Paula for no real reason. No one knows that that's what they called her in the previous film. It's just a coincidence.
Right.
Yeah.
I will call you Paula. You look like a Paula.
Yeah, I guess she does. I guess that was just a common name for ape women at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if your name is Paula, sorry.
Yeah, got bad news.
Joan, Fletcher's daughter, and her fiancé Bob come to visit the doctor, and Paula likes Bob a little too much. Paula scares Joan. Could Joan have really seen a big ape outside her window? Fletcher warns Bob not to encourage Paula, as she's unstable. Meanwhile, Willie is still creepily stalking Paula. She says, "Go away! Don't follow me!" And then something kills Willie off-screen. Could it have been Paula?
Could it?
We don't see it.
It's a little bit of a mystery.
Joan and Bob go out in a canoe, and someone swims out to the boat. The assailant capsizes the canoe and tries to drown Joan, but Joan escapes with just a scare. They soon discover that Willie is missing and come to the conclusion that he attacked Joan. Joan catches Paula in Bob's bedroom, and she gets the entirely wrong idea about what's going on. It's not what you think, really.
Really it's not.
The groundskeeper talks to Fletcher about a bunch of chickens and a guard dog that were killed the previous night. They still think it's Willie. Because, he's like eating guard dogs now. Paula accuses Fletcher of hurting her, and she finds him snooping through her stuff. Paula attacks Fletcher, and he defends himself. Bob walks in just as Fletcher hits her. He also gets the wrong idea.
Not what it looks like, really.
Fletcher gets fingerprints from the chicken coop's padlock and some other things, but they aren't human fingerprints. Fletcher starts to figure out what's going on with Paula, and George the groundskeeper finds Willie, and his body had been crushed to death quite a while ago. Bob and Paula argue on the way back to the sanitarium, and she refuses to go in. Joan tells him what's been going on, and then Paula follows her home. They all chase each other around the woods for a while, until we see this shadowy silhouette from the beginning of the film as Paula jumps and attacks Dr. Fletcher, and he injects her with something to make her pass out. All right. Back in the courtroom, Fletcher admits he accidentally gave her an overdose and she died. They go into the morgue to examine the body and find a gorilla in the drawer, not Paula.
Huh.
And the case is dropped since there's no human body and therefore no murder, and Fletcher is free to go. The end.
Okay, yeah. Never see her again.
Well, the film is 61 minutes long, and 17 minutes of that are flashbacks and voiceovers explaining what happened in the previous film. Percentage-wise, that may be a record. There are some new scenes interspersed in the flashbacks, but it's still not anything new until about 17 minutes in. It's clear they needed filler or were otherwise doing this on the super cheap. They're careful not to show us Paula killing or attacking anyone, but we're given no clues, hints, or suggestion that it could be really anyone else. There are just many miscommunications and people interrupting each other at just the wrong moment. It's very melodramatic. Evelyn Ankers and Milburn Stone get top billing for this film, but they mostly only appear in the flashback sequences from the other film, plus one added dialogue scene that is pretty short. Once we get to Dr. Fletcher's story, they aren't involved in it at all.
So, it was okay.
It was okay, yeah. Too much rewind.
We saw it, and it was okay.
Yeah. And then we saw a Hammer film.
Twins of Evil.
Not just one, but two evils.
Which I liked somewhat better than Jungle Woman.
Yeah. Well, Hammers are, well, I'm not going to say Hammers are better than Universal.
Not always.
Yeah, not always.
We saw some stinkers.
We're going to see more stinkers, too. Yeah, this one wasn't bad. Twins of Evil from 1971. Seems like they made a lot of them in 70 and 71 and 72.
Early 70s was a golden age of Hammer.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know about golden, but
they made a bunch.
They cranked them out.
I wonder if they were cranking them out because they needed the money, or they needed the money because they were cranking them out. But they were running into trouble at this point.
Mm-hmm.
The end was not that far off. I mean, back in 58 and 59 with the early Dracula and the Mummy movies, they made one a year.
And here they were making one a week.
Oh, it seems like it. We've done at least 5 from 71. Directed by John Howe, I don't know. Written by Tudor Gates and Sheridan Le Fanu. Stars Peter Cushing, Dennis Price, Mary Collinson. Hour and 27 minutes. Did you like it? You said you liked it better.
I liked it okay. Yes, I kind of liked it, yeah.
It had its good parts. It had its bad parts. Yeah, it's...
As usual, Hammer, with their glorious costumes and...
they always look
and amazing
good.
sets. And yeah, there's all that and all those good Hammery things.
Yeah, they were good at the sets and the costumes. Stories sometimes left a little to be desired.
A little bit.
The direction, too. But on to this film.
More of the madcap adventures of the Kernsteins.
Yeah. Gustav Weil, W-E-I-L, but everybody pronounces it Weil. I am Mr. Weil. I'm Mr. Evil. I'm Mr. Weil. Well, Mr. Weil, the witch hunter, leads a group of men to a remote cabin where a girl is captured. He prays, and they burn her at the stake as a witch. Later, twins visiting from Venice ride down the road, and they spot Karnstein Castle up on the hill. They're nieces of Gustav Weil and his wife Katie. Katie warns them of wearing colorful clothes. They should wear black, like everyone else in this puritanical town. He walks from the front door, and he is clearly not a fun man.
No, not a bit.
He freaks out when he sees their modern and revealing dresses. and these two are moving here to live under his care since their mother recently died. And their dresses are, I think they were blue, mildly low-cut, not excessive for a Hammer film, but nothing that you'd freak out over.
Excessive for him. He freaked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we hear that 2 young men have recently died, and they had the mark of the devil on their necks. One guy knows a woman who lives in the woods alone, so the whole gang rides out there to burn her at the stake. Meanwhile, the twins are at home trash-talking Vile. One of the girls is already planning to run away. They just got there this morning.
She acts fast. She's a bad girl. A little bit of a bad girl.
Vile breaks in the door at the woman's house and finds her having sex with Count Karnstein. The 2 men argue, but Vile can't do anything to the nobleman, fearing that the emperor would do to the town if they did.
And again, it's that vague situation where it's vaguely European, kind of Germanish.
Half German, half British.
There's an emperor, yeah. It's what country is this exactly? Oh, don't worry about that. Something European.
Vampiroland.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on the way back, they find a man who has been bitten on the neck and drained of blood. And they change their mind and go back after the girl who was with Karnstein, and they burn her at the stake after all. That evening, Vile rants to Katie about the Karnsteins, and the girls overhear everything. Frida wants to visit the castle and meet Karnstein. She's a bad girl.
And she wants to meet a bad boy.
Meanwhile, up in the castle, they're doing blood sacrifices for the Count's entertainment. They are calling up the devil. He's not that interested in tonight's girl, because he wants Vile's twins. Karnstein gets angry and throws the fake devil worshippers out. He knows that's not how you do it. When everyone else leaves, Karnstein kills the girl in his own sacrificial ritual. He offers the girl in exchange for power. The blood drips through the floor and revives the dead vampire who's buried in the crypt below. The vampire, of course, is Mircalla from the previous 2 films, who wastes no time in turning Karnstein into an undead fiend. He watches his reflection in the mirror as it fades away, clothes and all.
Yep. Clothes, jewelry, it all vanishes in the reflection.
Frida and Maria go to school and they meet the hunky Anton, and all 3 of them are pleased with what they see in each other. Anton explains about the Karnsteins to Maria, while Frida goes outside and flirts with the actual Count himself. That night, Frida runs off and is kidnapped by Karnstein's coachman. The Count tells Frida what he is, and then bites her. Frida's twin sister wakes up and looks at her own neck. She felt the bite.
Uh-oh.
Vile catches and burns another girl, and Anton rages about ignorant villagers. He likes Frida, but not so much Maria. Vile confronts Anton over his behavior, and now Vile wants to investigate Anton and see if he is a servant of the devil. You don't like it? Maybe you are too.
Mm-hmm.
Anton explains that his research shows that Vile is doing it wrong anyway. These evil beings need to be staked through the heart. Burning won't hurt them. Frida completes her transition to vampire, and she now starts hunting every night, and she's particularly hungry. The Brotherhood and her uncle close in on her. Vile pulls out a cross, and she shows her fangs. "The devil has sent me twins of evil," he shouts.
Eek.
Of course, it's only one of them.
Yeah, twin.
Yeah,
A
twin of evil.
Yeah.
Karnstein kidnaps Maria while the Brotherhood is condemning Frida. Karnstein goes to the jailhouse and switches Maria for Frida, hoping no one can tell the difference.
They do look an awful lot alike.
Well, that's because they're twins.
Yep.
And they really are twins.
Yes, real actresses that are twins, yes. And who later went on to be the first twins to pose for Playboy.
Oh.
I read that in the trivia
somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. Just throwing that out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Frida hypnotizes Anton, but decides not to bite him yet. Anton notices that the girl he is kissing has no reflection in the mirror. The Brotherhood stops by the jail to burn the girl inside, who they think is Frida, but was really Maria. Anton rides to the burning place to save Maria, who is now tied to the stake and ready to burn. He gets there in time, and Vile releases her. Anton talks the Brotherhood into storming the castle and killing everyone. Karnstein, Frida, the coachman, and whoever else might be in there.
Kill them all.
Anton warns them that the fire won't hurt them. Karnstein explains the same thing to Frida. Fire won't hurt us. The coachman runs in and warns that they have stakes and crosses and axes. Karnstein acts surprised and orders the coachman to hold them off as long as he can. You know, when villagers are storming the castle for vampires, you know they're going to have crosses and stakes and torches. Why does he act surprised like, they know about me?
How'd they find out the secret?
Yeah, they knew.
They knew, yeah.
They'd been killing people with bites on their necks for months. I mean, they know exactly what they're doing. Well, Karnstein sends Frida outside first and watches her get beheaded by Vile. Maria runs off to the castle to find her sister. Karnstein, of course, grabs her and pulls her into the dungeon. Vile confronts Karnstein, and they fight. Vile gets an axe in his back and dies. Anton throws a spear, which gets Karnstein right where it counts.
Good shot.
Yeah. Anton rescues Maria while they watch Karnstein decompose in front of them.
Close and all.
Now for the problems. And this is the third film in the Karnstein trilogy, but Count Karnstein isn't a vampire when it begins, so it must be some kind of a prequel, because he was already a vampire in the first two movies. And then there's...
It's just a kind of an inconsistency.
Carmilla, who is dead at the beginning of this film and turns the Count into a vampire, except he was already a vampire when Carmilla was turned in the first movie. So we get some sort of weird timey-wimey loop going on here.
They didn't have good continuity there, no.
Yeah, there are many inconsistencies between the three stories, so you really have to look at it as a sort of a very loose trilogy. The soundtrack was very reminiscent of Clint Eastwood's spaghetti westerns.
Yes.
A lot of these things I could have sworn sounded just like, not The Good and the Bad, the Ugly. That's a little too recognizable. But some of those others back then. Must have had somebody similar working on the soundtrack. Peter Cushing is starting to show his age in this one. The wrinkles, gray hair, and age spots here don't really look like makeup anymore. Of course, he was only 58 years old at the time, but this is also about the time his wife died.
It was his first appearance after his wife died.
Yeah. He didn't make any public appearances from 71 to about 82. Definitely not a good period for him. So the real fun with this film is deciding who is more evil. The satanic, bloodthirsty Count? Or the humorless, girl-burning witch-finder Vile? I know which I'd rather spend the evening with. The Count's going to be a lot more fun.
Yeah, he would be.
Mercalla sort of disappears after turning Count Karnstein. We're not told where she went, but she's only there for the one scene and then just sort of goes away. She who must not be named.
I guess not.
Yeah, just poof.
Yeah, whatever happened to her? Shh, don't ask.
Yeah.
Don't ask. Yeah.
And, okay. So, yeah, I did like it. And then we saw a short film.
Called The Sky.
Catchy title, The Sky.
A very new one.
2020, yep. Directed by Matt Sears, written by Ryan Grundy, stars Chloe Fox and Charlotte Kristoff. 11 minutes, 13 seconds. Link to watch it in the show notes. Did you like it?
I loved it.
It was really good. I liked it, yeah.
Thought this was a real winner.
I would have loved to have gotten more information out of it, but what we saw was really cool.
They leave a lot unanswered.
They leave a lot unanswered.
A lot unanswered. So it's the end of the world.
It definitely is, yeah. Two girls are out in the field looking at the sky. They play Never Have I Ever, and they're both pretty boring. One of them eventually pulls out some mushrooms. I can't believe it's actually happening. Never have I ever been so scared, one of them says. They eat the shrooms, which taste really nasty. Ellie's mother calls, and she apologizes for ruining Ellie's life. She wants to go find her mother, but the other girl talks her out of it. It's simply too late.
Yeah, just stay and be my friend till the end.
Then the mushrooms start to take effect. Is it just the mushrooms, or is the world ending in front of us?
Yes.
Is everything what we think it is?
Yes.
No.
Yes and no.
Well, the effects here are really good.
Yeah, I thought it was.
The scenery, the concept, and the execution are all great. I think the introduction of the drugs was only used to blur out what they feared might be bad special effects, but it totally wasn't necessary as everything looked really well done and realistic. I liked it.
Yeah, you should check this one out.
Yeah,
for sure.
11 minutes, and it's a good one. Definitely.
Totally worth it, yeah.
What's next?
Blood Creek.
Nazis or dinosaurs?
Nazis, 2009.
All right, 2009's Blood Creek, directed by Joel Schumacher, written by David Kajganich, stars Henry Cavill, Dominic Purcell, Emma Booth, and it's even got Michael Fassbender in it. Hour and a half, hour 30. What'd you think?
I liked it a lot.
I liked it a lot, too.
Thought it was very good.
I think I liked it less as it went on, but it started out really good.
Oh, I liked it more as it went on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it got a little predictable toward the end. Well, we hear via voiceover that in the 1930s, Hitler became obsessed with the occult. He sent people out searching for stones that would describe the path toward immortality. Hitler and his occult fascination, how many movies has been based on that?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot of them.
And I don't know, is it even true?
I think it was kind of
I think
true.
he was kind of superstitious. I don't think he was like,
collecting stuff.
Yeah,
well,
like Raiders of the Lost Ark and kind of stuff. No.
Probably not to that degree. Well, plus, none of it actually worked. So far as we know.
It's into seances or something. Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, magic always works in the movies.
Yeah, that's the thing about these movies. It's always real in the movies.
There'd be a lot more magicians in the world if it really worked.
Yeah.
As credits roll, we see a family of farmers, the Woolners, butchering hogs in 1936 when the world was still in black and white. The farmer gets a letter from Berlin. It's a request or demand for them to house a German scientist who is researching some vague topic.
Oh, I think it was just a request and a nice, tasty payment.
Yeah, they needed the money.
Yeah.
They'll be paid handsomely for letting the man stay with them, and they have little financial choice but to accept. Mr. Worth arrives, and he looks a lot like Michael Fassbender.
'Cause it is.
Their Viking ancestors left their rune stones behind when the Indians drove them out. The Germans were here in America first.
The Vikings were?
Well...
But in this movie they are.
Yeah. But the rune stone is still part of the foundation of the barn. He goes out to look at the stone. The girl's pet bird has died, but Worth brings it back to life using an incantation and his personal power.
And the stone.
But only for a moment.
It requires the stone, but it taps into the...
He expects that when using the actual stone, he'll be able to do much better.
Well, then that's all he can do. He's just, tapping scratching the surface.
Yeah. We flash forward to modern times, but now it's filmed in color. There's a police standoff with a screaming woman in a meth lab. We see that Evan is a paramedic on the scene. He drives home to his isolated cabin and argues with his invalid father, who is confused about Evan's missing brother due to his dementia. Evan visits the grave of Victor, who has been gone long enough to have been declared dead and buried.
Although the father objects to that.
He's not dead. He's not dead.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think he thinks Evan is the brother.
He's very confused.
Yeah, dementia. It's confusing. That night, he dreams of his brother, and when he wakes up, Victor is standing there in his bedroom, demanding his help.
He's not dead.
He looks like someone who's been living in the woods for 2 years. The two of them go off into the woods by truck, then canoe, then on foot. They have literally hours in which to talk, explain, and plan, but they don't do any of that.
Yeah, and that's just so lame.
Yeah,
they just show up, and it's...
I think, is the hardest thing to believe in this entire movie, is that they went all those miles and didn't talk.
Yeah, and it's like, well, it's a long story. Well, you got time.
You got a lot of time.
It's complicated. Well, you got a long time to talk about it. Even if they just explained the basics. This is why we're going to this farm, and this is why we're going to do what we're going to do, and I need your help. And
when they get there, Evan says, "Why are we here?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a total bumblefart. The initial attack, and wouldn't have had to be. It could have gone much smoother.
Make a plan. See what's going on. Would have gone so much better.
Yeah.
But then there wouldn't be much story.
Yeah, it did help the story, yeah.
The two brothers come to a large encampment and climb over the fence. It's the Woolner farm, where Worth and the runestone were so many years ago. They break into the house and end up shooting one of the men inside. A girl swings a knife at Evan and then runs away. They catch her and tie her and her grandmother up.
And guess what? It's the same people from 1936.
Same age. They haven't aged.
Huh.
Yeah, there's something in the black container outside that Victor hates, and no one else will talk about it. Evan sees a photo of the people in the house dated 1940, and they haven't changed a bit. Time doesn't touch us, says Lise. I've been 17 for longer than you've been alive. Evan goes out to check the container, and Victor tells him not to look inside.
He looks inside.
Inside the container is another man, Luke, chained to the walls and clearly has been tortured. He says he's been there for about a week. They can't get the bindings released, so they continue their search and plan to return for him later. They can't get the door to the cellar under the barn open. Evan finds skeletons in the upstairs of the barn. They finally manage to cut Luke loose and start to head out, but a truck arrives at the farm.
Oh, it's the other family member who was out doing trading.
Victor shoots the truck driver, who crashes into the barn. This destroys the sealed doors that Victor couldn't open before.
Oopsie.
Something nasty comes out of the barn cellar. It's Mr. Worth, now mutated into something demonic looking.
Corrupted.
Yeah, you mess with the runestones long enough, and the runestones mess with you.
Yep, they sure do.
Everyone runs into the house, and then they barricade the doors. Worth kills all the horses and then brings them back under his control. The horses then break into the house and start killing people. Worth finds the dead man outside and resuscitates him as well. Worth was sent by the Nazis to practice the occult, and the Woolners trapped him in the barn with the mystic runes painted on the windows.
And trapped him on the farm itself is surrounded by runes, too.
He can't leave the farm.
He can't leave the grounds.
Yeah, if the brothers can make it outside the line of the fences, they'll be all right. But the Woolners can never leave. They're too old. They'll dissolve or something.
All at once. They would... Yeah.
Yeah.
Time
will catch up.
Time would catch up with them all at once.
Yeah. Every time the brothers kill someone, Worth brings them back. Over and over.
Just adding to his army.
One of the dead attacks Evan, who picks up the magic bone knife that Lise dropped earlier. That works on them. We had him contained until you came here, Lise explains.
Yeah.
The stone gives him more strength, she adds. His final transformation will happen under an eclipse, which, when's that eclipse? Tonight?
Coincidentally, tonight.
Hey.
You know, and I said something wrong. That's not, they can leave the farm.
Can they?
Yeah, he was out trading. He was off doing...
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Worth can't leave.
But if Worth and the stone are disrupted, that's what would do him in.
Yeah. Well, Worth does his ritual under the eclipse, which just happened to be tonight, and drives a spike through his own forehead to release his third eye.
Ow.
That's where the power is. Meanwhile, Victor battles a possessed dog. They need the bone shirt to use against him. They're like kryptonite. They could also poison him with the blood of his own family, and it just happens that those bones came from his family.
Ancestors, Viking.
The brothers cut open Evan, and they contaminate his blood with crushed, powdered bones from the farm. That's gonna feel good in a week.
Yeah.
Sure enough, Worth comes in and starts licking Evan like a blood popsicle. He and Evan fight, and Victor saws Worth's head off with a piece of barbed wire, and then Evan stabs him in the third eye.
It's very juicy.
Yeah.
It's a very juicy ending.
Very. All the dead horses and servants collapse, dead for real this time. Lise tells it that there were 8 other stones like theirs around the country, and Hitler sent someone to examine each of them. She instantly ages a whole bunch and is now in her 90s. She doesn't last very long after that and dies conveniently after she's given her ominous warning. The brothers burn everything else to the ground. They both go home and try to explain where Victor's been for 2 years. Evan has written down the names of the farmers who had the other rune stones. Will he go after them in 7 other sequels? No, because other things came along.
I think they should make 7 more movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
7 more in the series.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Well, they'd traveled for hours to get to the farmhouse. Why didn't Victor try to explain anything to Evan first?
Yeah, this was mentioned previously.
Yeah. Things would have gone far more smoothly and quickly had Evan known what was going on.
Yeah.
If your brother hands you a shotgun and says we're going into this house to hold these people hostage, you'd think you'd want to know why before you're at the front door.
Even if he didn't tell him the supernatural stuff. He just said, "Hey, bro,
These guys kept me prisoner for 2 years.
for years. Help me. They're dangerous. We got to. Don't trust them. Don't believe anything they say. We're gonna go and
We didn't get any of that.
We didn't get it. He didn't tell him anything.
It's got the star power, at least just before they were big. Dominic Purcell gets top billing over Henry Cavill and Michael Fassbender, and that probably won't be happening again. I gotta admit, I've never seen demon-possessed killer horses before.
That was pretty cool.
This is pretty bloody, and there's a lot of gore and general mayhem. Overall, the story itself is fairly predictable, but I did not get bored at any point. Fassbender has a good scene at the beginning of the film, but once we get to modern times, he's buried under so much makeup that it could literally be anyone under that mask.
You can occasionally recognize him, but it's pretty heavy.
Yeah. I didn't really think it was him at the end, but once in a while you could see it.
You could. It was definitely him.
Nowadays, if you had Michael Fassbender, you would not put him in a mask.
No, probably not.
You're paying for the star power.
Yes.
Overall, I liked it, but it doesn't pay to think about it too much.
No, don't nitpick it, but it was entertaining.
Or even at all.
Entertaining it was, though.
And now, our newish movie of the week.
Finally, The Monster.
Very catchy title, The Monster.
Could that be any more generic?
Yeah, do a search online for The Monster and see what comes up. It's probably not this.
The Monster.
Yeah, it's from 2016, written and directed by Brian Bertino, stars Zoe Kazan, Ella Ballantine, and Aaron Douglas. Hour and 31 minutes. Did you like it?
I did. I liked it a lot.
I did too.
Yeah, very entertaining.
I wasn't expecting much, but it really wasn't what I was expecting.
It was way better than I expected.
Yeah. The Monster, that could be anything.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah.
It was something, yeah.
It was a thing, yeah. Monster, played by Chris Webb.
Oh, really? There's a person in it? I thought it was like all CGI.
No, it was a mix. No.
We see Lizzie cleaning the filthy apartment while she listens to some seriously sad-sounding country music playing in the background. She clearly takes care of her way too dependent mother, Kathy. Kathy is supposed to be driving Lizzie to her father's house, but instead sleeps all day and has to take her there at night. Lizzie secretly plans to not come back after this visit. They argue a lot, but continue down the country road until they have a blowout and hit a wolf in the road, killing it. They call 911, but they don't exactly know where they are, so it may be a little while before help comes. We get flashbacks showing how Kathy is an alcoholic. They spend a lot of time waiting on the deserted country road, and they look at the dead wolf and see that it was pretty chewed up before they hit it. They find a huge tooth embedded in the wolf's skin. Hours pass, and not a single car drives by. We start getting shots of something watching them and the car from the woods. Finally, a tow truck shows up. They watch the truck driver do his work and soon notice that the dead wolf has vanished.
Yeah, where'd it go?
The tow truck guy, Jesse, says no one ever takes this road anymore. Jesse gets started hooking up their car to his tow truck, and turns out they have a broken axle, so he has to do some work under the car before he can simply tow them away.
Well, that's a good suspense there. What's gonna happen? When's it gonna happen?
And who's gonna get it first? Lizzie gets out of the car, and she finds the wolf further off the side of the road. Still dead, but now there's a lot less of it. We see the creature standing right behind her, but she doesn't. We get more flashbacks of Lizzie and Kathy's awful life together. Jesse is taking forever to fix the car, and then they get out and notice, hey, he's not down there anymore. His truck is still there, but he's vanished. He even left his flashlight under the car. We hear something that makes a noise right out of Jurassic Park. Something throws Jesse's severed arm at the window. That's not good.
That's not good.
Jesse, who still isn't quite dead, crawls back to their car and bangs on the door to be let in. The thing finishes him off right in front of Lizzie and Kathy. The thing then pulls Kathy out of the car and starts chewing on her, but it gets frightened off when the ambulance finally arrives. Kathy and Lizzie are put into the ambulance, but the paramedics get preoccupied with finding bits of Jesse lying on the road, and then there are no more paramedics.
Uh-oh. Send more paramedics.
Kathy and Lizzie drive off in the ambulance, but they are soon rammed by the creature and knocked off the side of the road. The ambulance is on its side, so they aren't going anywhere in that. Seriously injured, Kathy says she's going to die really soon, whether she goes outside or not, so she makes a torch and tries to lead the creature deeper into the woods, while Lizzie runs back to the tow truck. However, the monster tears Kathy apart, and Lizzie, who doesn't do as she was told, hits the monster with a hammer and drives it off, but Kathy is done for. Alone now, Lizzie uses what she has on hand to survive. Yeah, if your mother wants to run off into the forest with a torch, don't chase after her. You go for the other way off the road. It's the whole point of a distraction.
That was the point of it, yeah.
Well, it's explained why they got off the highway and also why the road is deserted, but they never explain why a road like that way out in the woods has so many street lights. No one lives anywhere near there,
so
why the street lights?
So we can see.
And that's because we wouldn't be able to see anything otherwise, but they could have tried to explain it.
They built that for the movie.
Yes, they did. It was not even a real street.
They built that section of road, everything, yeah.
All right, well, we get it already. Kathy's an alcoholic, and Lizzie's home life was awful. We don't need to see that many flashbacks. I'll watch monsters eating mechanics all day long, but strung-out addicts beating on their children is not entertaining. The monster in the dark and the two girls' terror works really well, but the flashback scenes do really drag. They need to set up why Kathy needs her redemption at the end, I get it, but I stopped caring about it and her a long time before the end.
Harsh.
The monster effects here are really good. It looks like a velociraptor from Jurassic Park, crossed with a title character from Venom. There's no explanation at all of what the monster is or where it came from. Alien? Mad science experiment? An extra from the Jurassic Park movies? We don't know.
Nope, never explained.
Monster 2. Coming for you.
Yeah, it
theater
could.
Soon.
It could. And, it's the thing with these kind of movies, they always talk about, the monster. Well, if it's an animal, they have parents.
They tend to reproduce.
And brothers and sisters and cousins and, like animals do.
Well, if it's an alien or a mad scientist experiment or something.
It could have been that, yes. It could have been, one shot. But, we don't know. Yeah. But if it's a species, that's trouble.
That was the problem with the creature from the Black Lagoon. There's more of them.
Last of his kind.
He didn't just hatch from an egg.
Last of his kind.
Actually, the little creature from the Black Lagoon could have come from an egg.
Yeah.
Well, so could this thing.
We don't know.
Well, that's our show. Thanks for joining us. Stop in during the week at the website for news and horror updates, to comment on the podcast, or to contact us. Sign up for our mailing list at horrorguys.com. Get a 1 review 5 times a week.
Contact us and let us know what you think.
Yeah. Let us know if you agree with our reviews. Let us know if you disagree with our reviews. Let us know if there's something you want to hear our opinion on. We love requests. But get ready for next week when we'll be watching some more classics.
No. Again?
We'll begin with The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Not the original. We already reviewed that way back. This was the one from 1939. Still black and white. Charles Laughton is the Quasimodo. Then we'll watch the Hammer film of the week, Lust for the Vampire from 1971. Ooh, if you're going to have a vampire, you need some lust.
Might as well lust after him, yeah.
We'll talk about The Omen from 1976.
Classic.
Yeah, and that double chanting.
Classic horror. Oh, yeah.
And we'll talk about Lake Dead from 2007. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.